You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you very much for joining me for another amazing episode of the Daily African Proverbs. I am truly excited to be here with you. We are live and direct on YouTube, and we are also live on Clubhouse. Welcome, Jarrell. Thank you so much for making the time to join me for today's session here on Clubhouse. We are live streaming on YouTube, and I'll be pinning the room. I'll be pinning the link to the YouTube live stream in just a moment. Today we are taking a journey to Ethiopia. And the proverb says that there is no phrase without a double meaning. And also today my guest was supposed to be Kandakat Aziz. I am still hoping that she will be able to join us, but she might be experiencing difficulty with her network. So we'll just stay hopeful. Every day when we gather here for the Daily African Proverbs, we pick proverbs from all over the African continent, and we dissect them together with our community members, both on Clubhouse and also on YouTube. And the goal is that we gain some African wisdom from these proverbs. And when we look at today's proverb from Ethiopia, there is no phrase without a double meaning. It reminds me quite a bit about a TED Talk that was done by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie that talked about, the idea that every story has two sides. Even the story of Africa that is normally told by the mainstream media, where Africa is always depicted as the place where there is always starvation, there are always wars. There is another side of the story of Africa that the media leaves out, especially the mainstream media, where we talk about innovation, we talk about some of the fastest growing economies in the world. All of these are found in Africa. So to me, when I look at this proverb, it teaches me, I see that the lesson I need to grasp from it is that whenever I deal with any situation, I need to look at it from many different perspectives. And also this is what we learn from the proverbs that we normally bring here for the Daily African Proverbs. We learn from each of these proverbs that, for example, Jarrell is going to interpret this proverb maybe different from me. Emily might interpret this proverb maybe different from me, and even Alexis and Ifra, So the message from this proverb is that whatever you're dealing with, there is a different side of it that you probably need to pay attention to. And once you discover that other side of it, there is another side of it that you probably also need to pay attention to. So whenever we are faced with situations, whether it's at work, whether it's at a personal level, we should understand that it's not just the way we see it. There are many other ways that we could see it. So I just want to quickly invite Jarrell to introduce himself and then share what you think, Jarrell, this proverb means to you. Thank you so much.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Jarrell here. I'm in the UK, London. It's in the afternoon, about 2:00 in the afternoon over here. Yes, okay. Yeah, the thing is, I could repeat what you just said there, and I think this particular proverb, it's going to repeat itself over and over in certain aspects. But the reality is, for me anyway, it's like many things. As you said, every story we read. When I say every story we read there's always going to be a different meaning to a different person. And I guess that proverb is just that. I mean, it's like religion. You know, I could read the Bible in the first hour and a certain text, and it means A, B, and C to me. Another person could read the same text, and it means E, D, and F. So really, truly, it is all about, you know, the glasses, what how, you know, your viewpoint, your mindset, how you see the world. And to be honest with you, that's a good, well, it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and a bad thing. But that's, I guess, what that proverb is all about. I mean, the reality is, you know, we all see things differently, and as my granny would say, you pick sense out of nonsense. So, which is another proverb this day. So at the end of the day, you know, we all see things differently. We all read the same. I mean, we read the text the same, but the outcome won't be the same. So it's I don't know. You know, it's gonna have several meanings, just like the proverb says, and I won't be able to give a definitive, and I don't think anybody's looking for that. But I guess from my standpoint, you you read, you look, you hear things, and then you decide. Um, the individual decides this on how they see it. There is, I suppose, yes, in some instances there is no right or wrong, but I suppose you pick a side and you stand by your convictions. So, but that said, yeah, this proverb. I mean, I mean, every time, like I said, my origins are from the Caribbean, so the reality is anything African proverbs is basically and anything we say in the Caribbean is just a reworking of anything said prior. Because so I may say something from the Caribbean, but no doubt it's probably another interpretation of an African proverb. So it's just full circle, really and truly. But anyway, I'm Joel and I'm done.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Jarel, for being here with me. And I see that Kandaka, who is my guest today, is already here with me. She's just getting set up. She will be joining me in a moment. And I want to encourage you, Jarel, to ping in, 3 to 5 people to join us for this conversation. I am also... Yes, Jarel. Thank you again for your perspectives. I'm really, really grateful. And stay here with me. I'm going to be pinging in, people here on Clubhouse to join us for this conversation. But if you're watching on YouTube, I also want to encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And also, I want to encourage you to, share this live stream with other members of your community who can also join us for today's conversation. Remember, this is the Daily African Proverbs. We get new African Proverbs every Monday to Friday, and then we come together here for the Daily African Proverbs, where we dissect these proverbs, we break them apart, and gain insights, gain new meaning from them. And that's why we are here today as well. And I see that we've been joined here by Yahe Flowers. Thank you for making the time. Feel free to join us on stage. And again, whenever we gather here, we also make our ancestors proud. We make them smile. Especially for me, I love the African Proverbs and the Daily African Proverbs because it reminds me a lot about my mother and how she brought me up with these proverbs, where whenever you did something good, she would take an African proverb and compliment you with it. Whenever you did something terrible, she would take an African proverb and also rebuke you with it. So that's part of why we are here. Just give me a moment. I want to check with my special guest here to see if she's ready to dive into the conversation today. So just give me one moment while I confirm with her. I don't think she's ready yet, so I'll give her a moment to get ready.
I'm here. I had no idea this was going to be a video,
well.
Oh, we got more I'm not.
Well, if you need time to prepare, take your time.
No, it's
I'll
all right.
continue.
It's all right.
Okay, just take your time. I'll continue on with the program for now, and then when you're ready, let me know. I'll send you a chat down there. So
Give me
thank.
30 seconds.
Uh, welcome, Tiff. By the way, welcome, Bibi. I'm just grateful that you are all here for this special intimate Tuesday morning. This is the first day of Black History Month, and we have to remember those who came before us and those who used these proverbs before us, and those who also gathered in spaces similar to where we are now, but in maybe even much more challenging circumstances than we are experiencing right now. So while we are here for the daily African Proverbs, remember that what we are doing is just continuing on with the work that was started by our forefathers. So thank you again for choosing to be here for the daily African Proverbs today. Again, I am live streaming on YouTube, and I am also here with you on Clubhouse. I do want to encourage each one of you on Clubhouse to ping in 3 to 5 people to join us for the YouTube live stream, and then soon I'm going to introduce my special guest today. And for now, I want to hear from you, Yahe. And I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly, actually, Yahe Flowers. The proverb we are discussing today says, there is no phrase without a double meaning. When you hear this, what comes to your mind? Share with us your thoughts, please. Hi, Zizi. Zizi, I hope you're doing well. I'll give you a moment to share your perspectives as well, but I want to hear from, I think Shanyahe is probably the name I should use. I'm not sure, but Yahe Flowers, you're here with us on stage. Would you like to take a moment and share with us your thoughts, or do you want me to go to Bibi, then come back to you in just a moment? Let me know. I can barely hear you. So go ahead, though. Go ahead and share your perspectives. Okay, we'll go to Bibi. Bibi, I hope you're doing well. Happy New Month and happy Black History Month. Share with us your perspectives on today's proverb, please.
Thank you, Simon. Good morning. Hi, Susie. Hi, Mama. To me, when I think about this, I just go straight to the names because all our names, especially in our language, they all have 2 or more meanings. For example, my daughter's name, Mariah. Her name is Mariah in Hebrew, but I also named her like that intentionally because in my language, you pronounce it Moria. And within that name, Moria, it has 2 meanings already. So it's like, but the reason why I chose it in my language for Moria, Moria means strength. That's one of the definition. But if you pronounce it Mori, it's strength. Moria, it's her strength. But if you pronounce it Moria means fear. Like Moria means like I'm afraid of her. So it's like it all comes down to how you pronounce it. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference. Like Moria means strength. Moria means fear. and then Moriah in Hebrew. So that's all I can share for now. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, Bibi. I like that. I like that, and it reminds me of Luo, my Luo language. You know, you could find that the same phrase and the same. It's very similar to what you're saying. I should think of an example and share, but I just appreciated what you had to say. Thank you again for your continued support. And thank you, Mala and Dr. Wanda, for joining us. Feel free to join us on stage as well. And I also see my friend Noel, he's here as well. Feel free to join us on stage as well. And also, please ping in, 3 to 5 people to join us for today's conversation. And also share the YouTube live stream if you're watching on YouTube, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are watching on YouTube. Again, my guest today is going to be Kandakat Aziz. She's just getting ready. I think I did a terrible job communicating to her, and so she was not sure this was going to be a video interview. So she's going to be with us in a moment, but she's just an incredible human being who has been, fighting for a better Sudan. And so she's going to help us understand, today's proverb from her perspective. And we're also going to learn, we are going to learn about her story, the work that she's doing for a better Sudan, and also how you can all stay connected with her and how you can support the work that she is doing. Now let's go and hear from Zizi. Zizi, how are you? And what does today's proverb from Ethiopia mean to you?
Very interesting.
Actually, yes, Simon, I don't think there's any word that doesn't have more than one meaning. Not only the proverb. Like, that's what causes misunderstanding between people. Especially if you write someone a text message or write them a letter. I remember, that's why sometimes I prefer to talk on the phone or face to face, because sometimes when you write a word and the other person reads it differently, it creates so much, because I cannot think of anything that I can say that wouldn't have a double meaning, especially Proverbs, in a nice way. Like, at least the proverb, you have many interpretations with the number of people who are explaining it. You rarely find two people reading the proverb in the same way, maybe similar, but not identical. So I agree totally that everything has a double meaning. And if we operate from love, let's take the meaning that is love-oriented and not the negative ones. Because there's so much that you can interpret wrongly and create misunderstandings. So I totally agree with it, Simon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Zizi. I just need a moment. I want to check in with Kandakat here real quick.
Yeah, I'm here.
So that I can just know if she's ready for the conversation, and we will be, listening to her once we hear from everyone else who is on stage, so that we can just take our time. I
can't actually see who's on stage, but I'll just wait.
Oh yeah. No worries. I'll manage that side of things. But you just stay here with me on YouTube. But everybody on Clubhouse hear you. But I just want to check. Do you feel ready, or do you still need a moment to settle in?
No. I'm here. I'm ready.
Okay.
I just woke up.
Okay. Great. Well, I would suggest that you try and not move once you find a spot where you're going to stay for the entire interview. Yeah, so maybe right there. Yes. Perfect. So I would love to invite you, first of all, is it okay that we are using Kandakat Aziz as the name for this interview, or do you want us to change it?
Yeah, that's fine. That's my Clubhouse name.
Perfect. Now, I just want you to listen into, two of our guests who are on stage, and then we will jump into the interview with the format that I emailed you, last night. So I want to come back to you, Mama Yama. Thank you again for being here with us. And I want to, just give you a chance to share with us your thoughts on today's proverb. And Mama Yama, I'll pass you the mic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. How are you?
I am doing
um,
great. Nice to hear your voice.
ah, thank you. Muchas gracias. So, good morning, everybody. I'm Mama Yama from Brazil. I'm living here in Ecuador. We are in the mountains, and well, this a little cold and rain. We are with tropical weather, but beautiful, beautiful. This proverb, it's special. Some time ago, I was doing something about this with the children of our Afro organization, and we were talking about these things. And the double meaning is a literary figure in which a phrase can be understood in two ways, and usually a form of humor. And we were talking this way with the children to do something like this using African words and things like this. And the joke are usually based on the double meaning. And also they also use metaphors and also can be used common poetry in poetry also. And here in the south we have this phenomenon in different countries. We have Mexico, we have Chile, we have also Colombia, and of course Brazil. And the people said that this brought the African people also to Brazil. So uh, we always we are going to Africa in different things that we do here. So thank you to this space, and thank you to all people that are here. Sorry, my English, and yeah, God bless all. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you, Mama Yama. I'm just always grateful, that you take the time to join us from Ecuador, from Ecuador. It means a lot. It means a lot. It's always heartwarming for me to, number one, to just know that there are people that look at me in so many different parts of the world that I've never been to. And because of an app like Clubhouse, we are able to actually gather and connect as if we actually live in the same neighborhood. So I truly appreciate your participation. I haven't heard from Dr. Wanda, so we are going to hear from Dr. Wanda briefly, and then we will hear from Mala, and then from there we will go and listen to what our guest has for us today. Thank you so much, Dr. Wanda. Share with us your perspectives on the proverb from Ethiopia. The proverb says, "There is no phrase without a double meaning." Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's so interesting, this phrase. I think most of the people that know me, they often accuse me of speaking like this with a double meaning. And it just really has to do with the fact that I spent a lot of years working in corporate America. And you had to continuously be careful how you phrase something. Sometimes you would even have to defend yourself with their language, but you had to do it in a way, that wasn't getting you arrested or fired, but at the same time letting the person know that you were not going to be bullied. So you would often have to use like words with double meanings, and vice versa. People would do the same, and you had to cut kind of connect on that and understand. In fact, there's a whole branch of communication, psychology, and sociology, and they call those things meta messages. that you have the message that someone tells you, and then the message that's underneath it. Americans especially, we use the phrase interesting, and sometimes interesting is not a compliment. Or if someone is, say for instance, someone asks you for a reference and you have to provide the reference, but they were a horrible worker, then you would say, oh, so and so was a nice employee. And they call that condemning someone with faint praise, because you're not out and out saying they were horrible so that they don't sue you. And you're not saying, oh, they were fantastic, they were stellar, because you're not lying, but you just say very deadpan, so and so was a nice employee. And it would be up to the other person to interpret the double meaning. So I think that's interesting that it's not only just Americans who speak this way. It seems like it might even be universal. And I'm
Thank you so much, Dr. Wanda, for your perspectives. Hey, Mala, I hope you're doing well. Share with us what your thoughts are on today's proverb from Ethiopia. Thank you.
Good morning and great day, everyone. So looking forward to hearing from our phenomenal guests today. For me, it's just the idea of how we enter communication with other beings. Are we seeking to be understood? Are we wanting to be right? Because, as so many pointed out, there's so many nuances in language and tone and inflection and what emphasis you put on what syllable. And, you ever been in a situation where there's a breach in communication, but there's not a new way of the information being introduced? It's just like, it's like listening to a broken tape recorder, just saying it the same way. Well, there's something missing here, right? So like, even from the ways in which we communicate, that phrases have multiple meanings. Are we kind of mastering our communication to make sure that our intention is being absorbed? And then on the receiving end, are we following up with questions? Just because something landed on me a particular way doesn't mean that that was the intention at all. And so just the idea that conversation really comes from a place of understanding, not just needing to be right, not just having the mic. I can just see the peace that the ancestors are reminding us of, right? And even it goes both ways. To Dr. Wanda, that there's ways that you believe you're receiving praise, and it could be a backhanded compliment and things of that nature. And Maya Angelou always said, whether it be a compliment or a criticism, she doesn't pick it up and she doesn't put it down. So there's power in how we communicate, and there's power in what we absorb. So this is Marla, and I'll turn to listening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mala. I'm grateful that you're here. And I want to give a shout out to Dan Clare, who is, a brother here in Seattle, also from Kenya originally. And, thank you for joining us on YouTube, and thank you for coming into Clubhouse to also join us. I invited you on stage. If you want to share your perspectives, this is a good time. And, I want to also encourage everybody who is in the room with us on Clubhouse, please, if you want to join us for the live stream on YouTube, the link is at the top of the room here on Clubhouse. You just tap that link, join us on YouTube, and subscribe to the channel. And, I want to just, invite Samara and Laron and Thelma and Roger and Brother to also join us on stage. I will be turning off hand raising in a moment. I also want to encourage you, if you're on Clubhouse, to ping in 3 to 5 people to join us for this conversation, so that we can continue building. And now I just want to check in with, with Kandakat. She was just getting set up, and, I just want to check if she's ready to join us for the conversation.
Oh, do you want me to come in? Okay.
Kandakat, do you feel ready?
Yeah, give me just 30 seconds. Let me put the baby's diaper on. Sorry, okay. I thought someone else was going to sing.
Okay, no problem. Take your time.
By the way, I have twin babies.
Ah, congratulations. How old?
Here, can you see him? This is one of them.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I'm a parent too, so it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be a parent. So I want to quickly listen to Dan Clare here. Dan Clare, every day, Monday to Friday, we gather, we get proverbs from different parts of Africa, and we dissect them and learn what these proverbs mean. So today we have one from Ethiopia, and I want you to share with us what you think about it. There is no phrase without a double meaning. The mic is yours.
Thank you so much, so much, my brother Simon, for the great work you do and enriching us with knowledge on use of proverbs. When I look at this word, there's that a phrase that has a double meaning. Yes, absolutely. When I read it, I was just laughing at myself, and I remembered I'm from Kenya and from a tribe called Kisii. Wusi people, we are neighboring to the Luo people. We are so close to each other, and we borrow words from each side. But every time when there is a proverb that is said, it always has a double meaning. In the essence, if you take it literally, it will mean totally something different. But if you look at it contextually, what was the context of the phrase? How did it come to existence? What was the etiology? What was the story? What was happening at that very time? Then you'll find that it has a complete total meaning. Now, why do we use proverbs? It is a high-end quality of communicating a very powerful message that can be decoded to transform or to teach or to appreciate the nature that is within us. And sometimes we spend a lot of good time with my grandmother, and every time she in a conversation, she will end up speaking a proverb, a Kisii proverb, and like, grandma, what do you really mean? And then you realize that at that very moment, she wants to ignite your curiosity. What does really and drop you to the level that you need to learn more, desire more, or grow more. In the other side of it, because what is the essence of a proverb is to communicate. And every time, as I was listening to the first person who spoke about that, it has two meanings. Yes. When we are communicating, the question is, what is the tone? What do we really intend? Is it the words or the tone behind the words? And sometimes we suffer from inability to bring our tone when we are writing text. And we all suffer from that. But when we are speaking, people can be able to say, aha, now this is what he really means, because tone is very important in conversation or in communication. Yes, I agree with you that, and I agree with my Ethiopian brothers for coining that proverb that phrase has two meanings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan Clare. I love also how you described to us what, the importance of proverbs and why proverbs are important, and also how you shared the way that your grandmother used to use proverbs with you all. I feel that our cultures are so rich, and we've been sharing these proverbs here for the Daily African Proverbs for over a year now. This is officially a year, and this is the first month after we've done it for 12 months. So this is the 13th month officially beginning today. So it's not a small accomplishment to gather proverbs that are sufficient for us to discuss for a year. And I know that we're just scratching the surface. But I want to welcome Fred, who is also another amazing contributor to this space. Fred, please share with us your perspectives on today's proverb. Thank you very much.
How's it going? As I'm in the communications field, and it's a saying in the communications field that the number one problem in communication is communication. And you look at the energy of how something is said. Just like energy, there's negative and positive, uh, yin yang, whatever. There's always two aspects to anything. So it's about clarity. So however just because you put it out, that don't mean it's going to be received that way. So that's why with me, always when I give a speech or have a lecture or I'm reading or what have you, I'm always saying, is it clear to you? What did you hear me say? Because a lot of times what we say is not, the intent on it is not received. So to me, it's just clear. It's like, okay, you said somebody receives it, so that's a duality on that anyway. So you really have to be clear on what's being said and how you put it out there. It's the energy on it that will determine the meaning on it. So yeah, that's the really clear face value to me. I have to deal with that every day.
Wow.
It's so simple to me. I can't even. There's no depth in that to me. It's flat in your face.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But when I was introducing this conversation today, I was saying that when something seems so clear, it's not clear, and then when you figure out what it is, there is another meaning to it. So you can always shape the meaning of any phrase or any proverb for a long time. Way back when we started these daily African Proverbs rooms, we would do these sessions for 30 minutes. Then we went to 1 hour. Then we went to 2 hours. And I realized that we could actually discuss one proverb for an entire day if we wanted, because everybody will be coming in with different meanings, and then you'll realize that what you shared was just one side of the same story. And also at the beginning, I was sharing, the idea behind Chimamanda Ngozi's TED Talk, where she was talking about the importance of both sides of the story, and how the African story has always just been one-sided. So thank you again, Fred, for sharing your perspectives. Samara, thank you for being here. What do you think about today's proverb from Ethiopia?
Thank you for the welcome, Simon. I love this room. I say this every time I come here. This room is so calm. It also gives you it gives you time to think. And I really like this room because you bring along certain proverbs from Africa, ones that I've never ever heard before, others which make you think how people sort of came up with these proverbs, and you look at certain settings across Africa, whether they are deserts, mountains, grassland, or forests and jungles, you kind of understand why when you look at the people who came up with the proverbs. This phrase from Ethiopia, this proverb from Ethiopia, there is no phrase without a double meaning. I absolutely agree with that. And I love how the previous, Dan Clare sort of mentioned this earlier, and I'm sorry if I'm re-mentioning stuff other people had mentioned, the tonality in which phrases are, sorry, not phrases, I keep saying phrases because it says phrase in the top there, the tonality in which the proverbs are said can be also be given a double meaning. Just as an example, if I said, for example, grandmother built a house, it could mean she physically built the house, or it could mean she made the house a home by cooking, looking after the children, being there mentally, physically supporting the parents. I'm Samara and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Samara. It seems like Dan Clare had something to add to what you're just saying. Dan, I'll pass you the mic for a moment.
Oh, I know. I was just flashing to say thank you. Like, that is really great. Lily, in communication, as the previous and Samara said, tone is a critical element, and how you phrase it out. Many times we are misunderstood or misinterpreted, if there is such a word, when the recipient of the message interprets the tone. A good example, I was having a conversation yesterday, running a meeting and chairing a team of people. And when I realized I'm texting back and forth, the recipient was not comprehending what I was saying, or she was not getting the information I wanted to pass out. And then when I realized that, the next thing is I had to call. Hey, this is what I mean. Then she's like, aha, now I get it. So, because from this standpoint, this person was perceiving the text in a different way than what the tone presented. Thank you. I'm Dan Claire Dan speaking.
Thank you, Dan. I agree completely. Sometimes picking up the phone, helps bridge the communication gap. I'm so grateful. Now, Kandaka, how are you feeling? Do you feel ready now?
Yeah, we can start. I can't find my other phone, but never mind.
You seem to be very audible, so we could.
So I'm going to sit down now.
Okay, no problem. And to everybody who is here with us on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. We go live here on YouTube for the Daily African Proverbs from Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And also, we do this room on Clubhouse. On Clubhouse, virtual meetings are called rooms. And so, since January 2021, we have been hosting this room consistently, and you can find the content from these conversations on my podcast, which is called the African Father in America podcast, available across all podcasting platforms, and also on YouTube. If you're on Clubhouse, if you tap the link at the top of the room, you will be able to see Kandaka, Aziz, and myself. And Kandaka, I'm just so grateful that you made the time, even though you have two little ones, you are able to make the time for today's conversation. I have 3 little girls myself. The oldest is 8, and the youngest is...
I have a girl and 2 boys.
Congratulations. So, what are your thoughts on today's proverb from Ethiopia? It says, there is no phrase without a double meaning. When you hear this proverb, what comes to your mind?
So there are many phrases, and when you hear the phrase, there might be an apparent meaning, but there's also a double hidden meaning to investigate, if that makes any sense. So, for example, one of my favorite African proverbs, you can take a thirsty donkey or the thirsty horse to the river, but you can't make him drink. So that can have more than one meaning. In terms of don't put energy trying to help people who are not willing to help themselves. It could mean multiple things. It could mean that those who are closed-minded or are not ready to learn, or they're not ready to help themselves. So that's how I look at it. Also, I wanted to say about Ethiopia, even though I'm from Sudan, I'm from the Blue Nile region, my father mainly. When I looked at our history, up until 18th century, for hundreds of years actually, parts of Ethiopia and Eritrea were part of our kingdom, a great deal part of it. So my ethnic group, it's not just in Sudan, it's in the Funj people. It's in Ethiopia as well. And I don't really recognize the borders. To me, they're colonial borders. And that's all I wanted to say.
Yes, that's important that you say that, because yes, the borders were decided even without the consent of African people. The borders were
The
decided in.
Ottomans actually messed up our borders. They had a part to play in it because they captured our people and enslaved them. Something people don't really know about.
Yeah, say a little more about that.
So the Fond Kingdom, it originated from the Shilluk Kingdom. The Shilluk is a South Sudanese tribe. So that's our forefathers. I didn't even know this until really researching deeper into, how do we link to South Sudan. So it was an Islamic kingdom, but it was full of mysticism. Their headquarters was Sinnar, which is in Sudan of the kingdom. Sinnar actually translates to moonfire. Sin, I think if in our native language, it means moon, and Nad is fire in Arabic. So it was a very mystical kingdom from the 16th century. They ruled a part of Eritrea, what is now Eritrea, Ethiopia, Sudan. Parts of the kingdom were in South Sudan and Southeast. And we have a lot of Shilluk linked customs, traditions. But we've practiced Islam, but not how you would, I would say, in the Middle East and in other nations. We honestly practiced it from a Sufi perspective, a mysticist perspective. I mean, you had women still, queens having their breast out, but still, you know what I mean? Still practicing, our tribal Shilluk customs. But then a mixture of that in for spirituality. And the Ottoman Empire did not like this. So during 18th century, they captured the kingdom, ended it, and took over parts of the territory and enslaved the people in Sudan and in Ethiopia and Eritrea. There was a slave trade that we were involved in. Many of us don't know this, actually. It's not really talked about much.
Yeah,
And
including
today,
myself.
the Blue Nile, I don't know what the situation is now. I haven't been in 10 years. 12 years. 10 years? More than that. But I haven't been there for a long time. But the situation today is that many people are actually afraid of going to the Blue Nile region because there's legendary stories in the south and in the north that we're big juju people. Some people believe that we're not even humans, that, they say after midnight these people turn into snakes and reptiles. So there's been many. I think every tribe has that, especially in the south. They all have, juju stories. Like, we're the snake people. We're known as the snake people. Other tribes are known as the crocodile people. They're not humans. They shapeshift into crocodiles. Everyone has a story, and I think it's to disconnect the tribes from each other, if that makes any sense. And if you understand the Mazin, which is Blue Nile State where I'm from, it has a history of war. It has a history of exploitation because the land is agricultural. So, it's rich in oil, gold, other resources. So you have a lot of foreign interest. You even had stories that, people were dying because the government was poisoning the water. So there's an ethnic cleansing situation going on. The last big war, I think, was 2014. And when I used to go there in 2005, South Sudan used to be part of us. We were governed by the government there, the SPLM forces there. And it was used as a war ground as well between the South and the North to fight. So that obviously affected the local people and created a huge refugee situationship. What else did I want to say?
Well,
When the we were part of South Sudan. When the independence happened, sorry, I'll land quickly. When the independence happened, it meant a war for us because the northern people wanted to take that piece of land back for themselves rather than it going to join the Republic of South Sudan. But if we had it our way, we would have been part of the Republic of South Sudan because we are southern people. And yeah, now the situationship, we're looking into maybe becoming like South Sudan, another state of our own, potentially. Who knows? Darfur is probably facing the same fate, which is my mother has ties there as well, ancestral links there. It's a very similar situation.
Yeah, the situation in I worked in South Sudan for about 3 years, by the way, in the BI region, which is
FBA.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
in a town called Agok. So I went there right after the peace deal was signed. Around
FBA didn't get negotiated though, did it, to South Sudan?
ABI is still a contested region. All the oil fields majority of the oil fields are there. So it's still contested. I don't know who has it. But I want to
I think
come
North
back.
have it, just like my place.
Well, maybe. But when I was there last, it was the Chinese soldiers that were there manning
Course.
manning the oil fields and protecting the oil fields. So I want you to take us a little bit back to your own story.
I lived
And
in Sudan. Yeah.
and what is it from your childhood? And this is a question I ask all my guests. We probably have another 10 to 15 minutes to wrap up our session, but I want to just give you a moment to share a story from your childhood that inspires you today as someone who fights for a better Sudan, as a parent, as a diasporan like myself. What is it from your childhood that drives you today as a leader?
So, before I came to Europe to settle, definitely here in London, I remember living in Sudan. It's funny you mentioned the Chinese. They were always there, even in areas where there's nobody, agricultural villages. Wherever even my village, in the Blue Nile, Osiris, you would see them there because they're mainly there. Them and the British. It's not just them, it's them, the British. There's other groups actually that come there to mine, geologists and a whole bunch of people. They come with their technology. The main goal is to find new places to mine and bring the technology forward. But I think the Chinese are there abundantly just because they understand this oil extracting business better. So they were abundant, even in villages, like I said, in the middle of nowhere, where you wouldn't think to find them, you'd find them. So I wanted to say, when I was
Hold on for a moment.
one of my most memorable images. Sorry, go on.
Hold on for a moment. It's funny you say that because the Chinese are in the most rural parts of Africa,
They
like
are.
Sudan in this case. But us, you and me, and many of us in this room who are in the diaspora, we are running away from those rural parts of Africa, and the Chinese and many of the developed countries that are exploring and extracting minerals and resources from the continent. Those are the places that they want to go to. I want you to speak a
And
little.
they scare people off by saying they're juju people. Don't go there. There's stories that if you come to my village, you ain't gonna make it out. They scared many people, especially Arabs, from coming in the village because they think, oh, these are bad people. Anything could happen to me. But it's really done strategically so that you leave these agricultural areas so they can ethnically cleanse people how they wish, extract many resources as they wish. So when I was in Sudan, I remember Joseph Lago died, right? Joseph Lago died. All hell broke loose, like nationwide. There was big protests. I actually was part of some of the protests, but I was part of a more calmer protest. It was Ahfad University in Sudan, in Khartoum. So we did a protest there, the girls. I was young. My cousins used to study there. I was about maybe 13, 12 at the time. No, 13 at the time. All hell broke loose because he was someone who actually fought for hope. He gave us hope. And then we believe when he died in that helicopter, that it was actually a setup. I think he knew as well that his time was limited. My dad actually knew him. I don't know how personally he knew him, but he knew him to some extent because he had a lot of I mean, his government used to, not his government, his army used to work with us in Blue Nile, where my dad is from. So what I was gonna say is a war broke out, and I actually had to experience a civil war. To have a little bit, I never experienced bombs or anything, but people were shooting each other for at least 3 days. All you could hear was gunshots. I had to hide in the house for 2 weeks, and then we had to get out of the city because it just didn't feel safe.
Right. And
Shops were closed for 2 weeks. I never felt I had to experience anything like that. You know, schools were shut for 2 weeks. People were fighting on both sides, like the South Sudanese side and the Arab side. The tensions was just, it was crazy because the streets were just full of dead bodies. We knew that had obviously some kind of psychological input. I think I remember at that time I just shut off completely. Like emotionally, I shut off. I was just very in that grey zone. I didn't know how to feel. Didn't really process it until we left that region. What was I going to say? My cousin got shot at, but he survived. I mean, it was just really serious because he was one of the people that was out in the streets, and you know, people fired at him and his father. So it was a
right,
very difficult time.
right. I want you
And then I
to.
came here. So that's. Sorry,
No,
go ahead.
no. Well, finish your thought, and then I want you to, to share with us just a bit about the most recent revolution before the current arrangement, where the civilian government and the army has, they have an agreement where they're running the country for a while together before the next elections. But this revolution was led by women, was led by Sudanese women. So I want you to speak to the importance of women in liberating Sudan and making it better, and then speak about your hopes, for Sudan. In just closing, just share with us your hopes and the role of women in the transformation of Sudan. Thank you.
I think before the revolution, just like I said to you, when Joseph Flagg died, I went with the Ahfad University women, because it's an actual university just for women. Many of the protests was run by us and other universities. So what I was going to say, we've been doing this before all of this madness, they call it the Kandakas uprising. People have always been fighting for their rights. People have always been doing protests, trying to fight for human rights. I don't know many names, but there's been a lot of men or women who speak for freedom that are not here with us any longer, That's been a situation, and that's why people, a lot of people didn't speak up, especially in the north when it comes to the war in the south and in Darfur and in East Sudan. People were very quiet because we knew if you stood up, you could only do like quiet protests. Am I making sense? In universities,
Yes, you
where you
are.
had people
You are.
willingly, people, we couldn't, like what we saw, people going in the streets, that's something new. I never saw it in my time there, like hundreds of people in the streets. Now the current situation is, when they did the whole transition, I knew it was not going to be peace. I knew it wasn't going to be peace. I knew they weren't just going to stop at what you think, just like that they're going to pass the power back to the people. No, they took Ahmed al-Bashir away, who was a big dictator, and I think that was just to make us stop protesting. But in reality, the military that rolls with him, they're still there in power, and so we continue to see the genocide, we continue to see the mistreatment. I fully have stopped even looking online to see what's going on, because at this point I'm just frustrated, and I know that it's going to take a lot more bloodshed. I'm sad, like really sad to say, but it's going to take a lot more bloodshed to get to where we need to. And I think maybe, just maybe, we have to become a Libya situationship or a Syrian situationship for things to move forward. I don't think it's going to come easy. People have been dying over the past couple of weeks, actually. There's been protests. I think a few months ago I was reading more than 48 villages was burnt in Darfur, which is where my mother has maternal links there from her grandmother's side. So, it's all disheartening, and it's just like I'm seeing the same shit repeat. Sorry, excuse my excuse my language, but yeah, I'm seeing the same thing happen. People have been, I don't know if you know, but from what I know is there's been a lot of protests going on over the past couple of weeks. There's been more than 1,000 people that have died. The numbers seem to be always underestimated. People are tired. People are tired, and expect to see that continue. Because I think we've gotten to the point as Sudanese people where we're like, you know what? Either I stay at home and starve, or I'll go to the streets and die for freedom. Better die for fucking freedom than just stay at home and die from starvation. Because the government is starving us. People have to line up for hours for bread. Line up at the back for hours just to get something. It's not a way of living. Line up for hours to get petrol.
So, so Kandaka, you are in the UK, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have your little family and you're safe. In Sudan, like you're saying, people are suffering. Why don't you just give up? Why is it that you haven't given up yet?
Given up what? Caring?
Given up fighting for Sudan and fighting for the transformation of Sudan, Why is it so important to you?
I don't think I'm doing much, rather than trying to raise awareness. If I'm being honest, like if I was really fighting, I feel like I'd be a soldier there and dying for the cause, or being out in the streets with the people and dying with them. So I don't feel I'm really contributing that much, other than sitting in a place of extreme privilege and sharing the experience. Because I think about it, how would you feel if you were in this situationship where, I don't know, you had bombs being thrown at you, supplied by the Chinese to your government, or if you had to be shot by a bullet for speaking for freedom? I mean, how would you feel? You would want the international community to actually care. And if I don't care, then no one else is going to care anyway. As far as I'm concerned, not many people care actually about this situation. Not enough people care. And I think the international community have a part to play in this, honestly. I mean, I was just recently found out that they declared what happened in Darfur wasn't a genocide. Millions of people died. So how can you claim the Tutsi situationship as a genocide, and then where we've lost millions? I mean, they say 2 million, but I think the numbers are much larger.
Yeah, and it happened over many years. The Rwandan genocide was over a few months, but Darfur has been going on for years.
We've had a genocide for decades. No, but you know what? Even when they say, if you speak to a Darfurian, and you say, I'm so sorry for your genocide that's been going for 20 years. If a real Darfurian knows it's been much longer, our genocide has been 100 years. Ever since we knew this thing called British monarchy and the French, genocide is all we've ever known. Does that make sense? If we count the people from the 19th century during World War I until now, because this war, honest to God, it's been going on since the British came. Since the British came and the French, and I know we had a king there who actually, Darfur would have been part of Chad today. People don't know this, but our monarchy in Darfur, the last standing monarchy, fought the French, so that Chad didn't take Darfur. If that wasn't the situationship, because our ethnic group, like I said, in Darfur, our ethnic groups are in Chad and they're in Sudan. Chad used to be part of us. Long, complicated story, but so our kingdom, they managed to secure Darfur for Sudan, but then the British took over and secured it for themselves. And they even went as far in disrespect as using the palace of the king as their office. A lot of people got killed off, especially the monarchy. A lot of us had to change our names. My grandmother actually is related to that monarchy. A lot of them had to. She fled. I've never been to Darfur, because from World War I, my grandmother had to flee that region. Never got a taste of it, and they always told us you can't go there. It's a worse situation than South Sudan and other places. So, with that being said, the British came in, took over. We know they did a whole bunch of slaying. Then Nimeri came into power. I'm sure there was genocide going on with Nimeri. Maybe there wasn't, but I'm sure there was. And then we had Omar al-Bashir, where, biggest modern day genocide continued. The numbers are always underrepresented. The UN, I don't think they count properly. That's just my honest opinion.
Right.
I don't think, 100 years and 2 million only died. That's bullshit. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that. I
Right.
feel millions have died. Maybe even more than the Jewish Holocaust. Sorry to say, but our Holocaust has been like such a long time. There's modern day slavery going on. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of orphans that actually get trained, and it links to South Sudan. There's a lot of orphans there who get trained, for example, in the madrasa, whatever you call it, and then they get trained to kill their own people. You know, they get indoctrinated into the same thing. That's why you have a lot of Darfurians going in, killing Darfurians and killing South Sudanese.
Right.
With the motion of jihad, you know.
Right.
So it's very interesting.
So if you had the
Not in a
power
good
to,
way.
yeah, if you had the power, Kandakat, this is the last question I'm asking, and then I want you to think about how everyone who is listening and everyone who is watching can support you and the work that you're doing, and also how they can stay connected to you. I feel that you are a historian. There's a lot that we should have you
Thank you.
again. Yeah, we should have you again so that you can share with us more. But if you had the power to change Sudan, you know, how would you do it?
Okay, if I had all the power, right?
Yes, all the
I
power.
would start by shooting all the people who are part of this situationship. I would annihilate them out of the game. Like, period. They would have to pay some. I wouldn't even put you to prison, no trial, nothing. I would annihilate all the what I call Uncle Toms. Anyone linked to the slave trade, anyone linked to the fighting situation, you wouldn't make it past. Sorry, you just wouldn't make it. I would annihilate all the African sellouts, and I would make sure I have the nuclear power. If I had the nuclear power, I would also make sure that the Asians get out, the British get out, everyone gets the hell out, and only we use our resources. And I would run the country in a democratic way where it wouldn't be governed by religion or state. Anyone could be whatever they want to be, as long as you're not raping anyone, hurting anyone. You'd be held accountable if you do that. So I think that's how I would, and that's the problem with Sudan. Because of the British, we had Sharia law come in, and with that, a lot of rights of the people. It didn't go in with some of our cultures, the laws that they added in. And I think there was a woman called Ala Saleh, who did, this whole protest in Sudan, and she was saying a religion she was dubbed Kandakat, right? The woman of the whole uprising in Sudan, and she was saying a religion, just to translate what she was saying a religion with no mother, we don't want it. Basically, a religion where you kill mothers under Sharia law because of children out of wedlock, whatever. We don't want it, and they said, and she was saying the religion says when the people aren't happy, that when they're not content, when they feel they're being mistreated, they have a right to discuss these issues. So we have a right, where some things are not compatible with human rights, to ask for a change to these policies. And our kingdom, the Islamic French kingdom, we didn't have a lot of the aspects of Sharia law that these people have today. Example, policing how we dress as southern or northern women. We didn't have that. Some of our queens wore their breast out. Do you know what I mean? And had their tribal gear. So yeah, that's just to wrap up. That's what I would like, a Sudan where all the ethnic tribes. And if we're going further, I would love for us to be just one Cushitic kingdom like the ancient times, where all Africa was one.
Yeah,
one day.
Thank you.
But that's pushing it.
Thank you so much. Now, we have a very, very attentive audience listening to you on Clubhouse. And I thank you all for being here with us, and also on YouTube. Thank you all for being here with us. My guest today is Kandakat Aziz, who is Sudanese. She lives in the UK, and she advocates for better Sudan. And today she shared with us, her perspective on the Ethiopian proverb we are discussing that says there is no phrase without a double meaning. She also shared with us a story from her childhood that inspires her as a mother, and with all the work that she's doing. And then she's been sharing with us how Sudan needs to look like. And now I want you to just listen for a moment to how you can stay in touch with her and also how you can support her. It seems that Kandaka is currently frozen. That's what I can see on my screen. Oh, there you are.
Sorry,
There
I'm
you
here.
are.
I'm here.
There you are. There you are. So share with us how everyone who is listening and watching can support your work and can stay in
So I'm a
touch with you.
music artist. I haven't released any music yet, but to stay in touch, I have Instagram. It's da real Nina Lion. On Clubhouse, I'm Kandaka Aziz. Aziz actually, Aziz comes from Isis. Actually, I think in Nubian dialect it means Isis. So yeah, I'm literally calling myself Queen Isis in my language.
Yeah, you have to
So I
claim
do
it.
music. I like to write about the situationship. But I haven't released any yet, so we'll be working on that.
Excellent. Thank you. So, everyone who is listening and watching, you've heard how you can stay in touch and support Kandaka Aziz. I actually, growing up in Kisumu, Kenya, some of my neighbors were refugees from Darfur and the Nuba Mountains. And growing up, going to school and interacting with them, I had no idea that one day I would actually go to Sudan and the Nuba Mountains for work, the Abiai area where I was working. And so after I went there myself, when I came back and, started sharing with these friends of mine what I saw, our relationship completely changed because they had never been back to Sudan for years, but they have a home in
Yes.
Kenya now. In fact, they have traditional Kenyan homes. They don't even live like typical refugees. They have like real homes where even their relatives from Sudan now come and visit them in Kenya. So I just want to thank you for making the time, and I want to thank all our audience members on Clubhouse and YouTube. If you're on Clubhouse, please follow the African Father in America Club and nominate a few people to join the club. And if you are on YouTube, remember to subscribe to the channel and also push the thumbs up button so that when we are live from Monday to Friday, you can also, be notified by YouTube. Thank you again so much, and I will be seeing you all soon. Thank you, Kandaka, for making the time. Have a beautiful
Thank you for giving me
afternoon.
the opportunity.
Anytime. Okay, blessings.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle,